LeBron James isn't Jordan. He isn't Kobe. He isn't Curry. He might be something else entirely. What if LeBron is Beethoven? This might sound crazy, but hear me out. LeBron might actually be Beethoven reborn. And once you see the parallels, it starts to make way too much sense. Beethoven was born in December 1770 in Bonn, which is part of, let's just say, modern day Germany. Bonn was not a major music capital like Vienna, but it had a smaller market, making it harder to become successful as a musician there. His father, Jonathan van Beethoven, was a court singer and a music teacher. His father wanted him to be the next Mozart, which was like the Jordan at the time. He pushed him hard, brutally, and sometimes forcing him to practice for hours. His mother, Maria Magdalena, was known as a kind and emotionally supportive mom who was a stable presence in Beethoven's life. As I mentioned before, Mozart was kind of running the music game at the time, and by the time Beethoven was growing up, Mozart was already famous. Mozart was a child prodigy who was already touring Europe and being celebrated as a miracle. On the other hand, Beethoven was constantly compared to Mozart, and he wasn't a miracle child. But you know what they say, out of pressure makes diamonds, and he was expected to live up to Mozart's legacy, but he developed slowly over time, differently and more aggressively. Beethoven showed talent early, but not effortlessly like Mozart. His skill came from discipline, repetition, and grinding, not natural flair alone. He was known for his rough early performances and improving wildly on the piano. Beethoven was forced to grow up early. He became a provider because his father's alcoholism began to affect his family, and Big B had to become the main provider to pay the bills. He worked as a court musician, taught lessons, and supported his mother and younger brothers. Beethoven's career started to pick up though in his late teens when he started to become more locally known in Bonn. He went on to briefly meet Mozart in Vienna, where Mozart says something like, "Keep your eyes on him because he's gonna make a noise in the world." Beethoven still wasn't famous yet. Beethoven's life really started picking up when he moved to Vienna at 21. Vienna at the time, you could look at it like the league today. It was the place to be if you wanted to become a pro. Vienna was the center of European classical music. Upon arriving to Vienna though, unfortunately his mother died, which raised the stakes for him even more. This wouldn't be the only tough situation coming Beethoven's way though. In his mid to late 20s, Beethoven began to lose his hearing. What started as ringing in the ears, difficulty hearing in conversation, began to rapidly pick up, and for a composer and a pianist, this is of course devastating. Imagine being a composer and not being able to use what you need the most, which is your ears. That's like playing basketball with no arms, or I don't know, playing soccer without feet. It's like, how are you supposed to do it? This all leads up to the Haugenstadt Testament, where in 1802 Beethoven wrote a private letter to his brothers where he basically admitted he was losing his hearing. He confessed that he had a deep depression and even showed hints at being suicidal. But through it all, Beethoven decided to keep living. From here, he started dropping bangers after bangers. He was moving like LeBron out there. Symphony Number 5, Symphony Number 6, Moonlight Sonata. All names that I didn't know, but obviously I had heard before. By now, Big B had almost gone completely deaf. It is said that at the premiere of Symphony Number 9, he had gone completely deaf by then, and someone had to turn him around to see the crowd go crazy. Think about that. Not being able to hear your own moment, that's pretty nuts. By this point, Beethoven is almost completely deaf and is no longer performing publicly. His later works were more complex, less polished, and confusing for a first-time listener. This led up to his death in 1827 at age 56, with nearly over 20,000 people attending his funeral in Vienna. And in my opinion, he didn't dominate during his era by fitting in. He dominated by changing the rules. And if that story sounds familiar at all, I think it's because it should. Both LeBron James and Beethoven grew up in the shadow of a great composer that was seen as the greatest that no one could top. Both had early pressure growing up, with Beethoven maybe not having such supportive parents, and having to take on big responsibilities of the household, while LeBron, had all the pressure of the world on him at 16 years old, and I'm sure he had to become a provider as well. They both had a league moment, with Beethoven going to Vienna and LeBron going to the Cavs. Both faced adversity during big times in their careers, with Beethoven losing his hearing over time and LeBron losing a couple finals to a couple pretty good teams. Through it all though, no matter how many finals losses, no matter how much Beethoven couldn't hear, they still became greater. The last things I want to point out is that Both Beethoven and LeBron had long careers, and they changed the game. You know what I mean? What can I say that he hasn't done? LeBron is literally the greatest basketball player of all time, and there's no comparison. Beethoven, it's debatable if he's the greatest composer of all time, but what isn't debatable is his impact on the game and his longevity. We're over here still talking about Beethoven thousands of years later, you know what I mean? It's crazy. And while this video is mainly a joke, I really do think that LeBron and Beethoven have something very similar, which is, like I said, their longevity. LeBron is playing at 40 years old. Like, him and my dad are a similar age, and I couldn't imagine my dad going and blocking my shot off the backboard, you know what I mean? And Beethoven with going deaf and being able to compose such great pieces. Like, these are things that are one of one and that should inspire other people.